Welcome to the Take Care Sis podcast with me, Ki and Kiki.
Join two friends for a conversation around self-care in real life. We'll talk about anything on the spectrum from bubble baths to setting boundaries to managing friendships and more.
As your sisters, we also just want to provide a weekly check-in. You know, like big sis asking little sis, sis, you good? So come on in, sis. Let's talk about how we can take better care of ourselves. Hey everybody, I'm Ki.
And I'm Kiki.
And we are Take Care Sis, the podcast. So Kiki, why are we here, sis? Like, what is this podcast about?
Sis, we are here to talk about real life self-care. We're not just talking about the typical stuff that people associate self-care with, like manicures and pedicures, bubble baths, and all of that. We're talking about real self-care. That means anything that has to do with our physical well-being, our emotional, mental, spiritual, personal, financial, relational, professional well-being. All of these things have to do with our self-care. And this is what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about how we choose to move through life, the decisions we choose to make, how we deal with certain situations in life, and just how to incorporate self-care into our everyday routine.
Don't get us wrong. Pedicures, manicures, massages, drinking tequila, all of that is self-care. It really is. It's a form. But we want to take you a little step deeper because we just realized, especially over the pandemic, that so many of us, especially Black women, like we're so used to a trauma response that we really have to learn how to dive deeper into self-care. Because the truth is, you might not have family members, or you might not have, in-house penis or whatever. It might not be there for you all the time, as the pandemic has shown us. So we need to learn how to give self-care.
True. All of that stuff is so wonderful, but I mean, when it gets down to it, we have to dig down deep and figure out what the root of the problem is. All of that stuff to me is surface. So we have to go a little bit deeper just to figure out what we need to do to take care of ourselves better.
Very good. Very, very, very. I like it. I'm happy to be here. So listen, are we going to tell the people how we met?
Let's tell the people how we met. So,
all right.
We met because we both joined the training that shall remain nameless.
The training that shall remain nameless.
And we actually met in a support group for the training because we had a mutual friend and she added us to the group, and we all were just kind of trying to figure out how to navigate the whole training together.
And let's rewind. Having a group chat, your girls, also a form of self-care. But go ahead. I digress. Go ahead, Kiki. Go.
That is one of the ultimate forms of self-care, is having a group of girls to talk to, especially when you're going through something that is hard to deal with.
Traumatic.
It was traumatic.
Sorry, friend.
It was traumatic. I mean, that's the truth. That's what it was. But yeah, we met in that group and we've been talking ever since.
Yeah.
You my friend. Like you were my friend in my head, and now we're friends for real.
Yeah, you were my friend in my head, and now we're friends for real. Because, like, let me go ahead and tell you, you did that, what you're really thinking about when you're doing yoga. I was on the floor because I was like, oh my God, that's so real. When you were like in forward fold, you were like, uh-oh, time to get a pedicure. I was like, that is so real. Because you never noticed, especially as a yoga teacher, I never noticed how bad my toes were until I was in front of a class. Like, you have on shoes, you're going in and out and doing whatever in between classes. But when you get in the front of that class and you swan dive into that forward fold and you be like, yo, when did I chip this toenail? So, yeah, that was hella real for me. So you were my friend in my head then. And then when Sharon, shout out to Sharon, when she introduced us in that group chat, I was like, yes.
Sharon's cool too. She'll be on the podcast at some point, y'all.
She will. I don't know that she knows it yet, but she gonna be
knows
here.
it. I told her that. So she should have that bug in her ear, like, you're gonna be on the podcast. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She has no choice.
No. And shout out to the other two in our group chat.
Momo,
Momo and
Brittany, Dr.
Brittany.
B.
Excuse me, Dr. Brittany.
Yes.
Dr. Brittany's in the group chat. So yeah, shout out to them too. And we gotta have Dr. B on as well. And Momo. But yeah. So Kiki, how did you get involved in yoga?
Whew, let's start from the beginning, shall we?
We shall, sis. We shall.
So I started my yoga journey back in 2014 when I was in grad school and I was working full-time. So full-time job, grad school. At that time, I was full-time. That first semester was terrible. I was on campus at work and I didn't get home until like 10 o'clock at night because I was going to actual classes. I wasn't doing a lot of online classes, but yeah, at that time I was working and going to school and I was basically stressed out. And I was just like, I need something for myself. I need something that will help me to relax, give me the time that I need to myself. So I was like, let me try yoga because people always say that yoga is relaxing, right? Which, I mean, years down the road, you kind of figure out that yoga is whatever.
Lies.
Yes, lies. So I started kind of doing yoga at home, like asana, I should say, the physical yoga practice. That's what I was doing at home. I was watching videos. I was on Instagram trying to mimic stuff that I saw. This is before the whole yoga movement started happening on Instagram. And at the time, and this probably dates my computer because, you know, me and you know that I need a new computer, so we're not going to talk about that. But
no comment.
It was an app on my computer that was literally called Yoga, and I think it was another one. I can't remember the name of it. One of them was an app that would just take you through a regular sun salutation. Mm-hmm. So it was like very quick, 5-minute sun salutation, arms up, arms down, you know, all that stuff. And then I just kept doing that and kind of making that a routine every night. And so it turned into me doing like yoga for hours after I would do schoolwork because I was just like, this is fun. So I got my music on, you know, I'm trying different poses. I'm falling on my butt. I am trying handstands and stuff at the beginning of my practice, y'all.
Okay. Fancy.
I started joining Instagram challenges for yoga. Why was one of my first challenges a handstand challenge, knowing good and damn well I was probably not supposed to be doing that at all.
Because you like pain.
That's what it sounds like. Because I was handstanding at the beginning of like being a beginner yogi. I was handstanding and I shouldn't have been. And yes,
Sis knows all about self-care because she's self-inflicting pain. I'm just saying. Between that, Kevin Samuels, you just inflict pain.
Oh my God, that is another issue for another day.
Yep, sorry. Let me stay focused.
But I was doing that, and yes, I fell a lot during handstands. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I fell on my head doing a handstand one time. Like, literally fell on my head.
Sorry, what? You fell on your head doing a headstand?
Handstand.
Oh, handstand.
Yeah,
okay.
Not headstand.
I mean, I get it. I get it. I've done a couple face plants before, you know.
So yeah, I started practicing at home. After a while, I kind of got the nerve to go to a class. And it was an outdoor class. It was yoga in the park, which is where I met my teacher. So it was kind of informal. It wasn't like in the studio. I wasn't that intimidated. And she was awesome. And at the time, she was kind of like the same size as me. So it kind of gave me a perspective like, oh, she can do it, I can do it. And that's why I kept going back. And I started going, I think I went to 1 or 2 of her workshops at a studio here. And then,
Sidebar, Kiki and I are both curvy women.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah, so when you said he was the same size as me, like, yeah, you got to make that preference.
I should have elaborated on that. But shortly after that, she opened her own studio. So I started going there. And she reached out to me and she was like, I think you'd be a great teacher. Would you like to try, or would you like to join me for our yoga teacher training? So at this point, I'm like, sure. Still working, still going to school. Just, adding more stuff to my plate. Because I'm still in grad school at this point. And I go through the teacher training, and it was how many weekends? It was 9 weekends, I think. 8 or 9 weekends. Nonstop. Each month, a whole weekend of yoga teacher training. And I graduated from my yoga teacher training the same time I graduated with my master's degree.
Oh, that's so dope.
So that same month, like I graduated with my master's degree first, and then I think the next weekend was yoga teacher training graduation. Yeah, so I finished it all at one time. But that whole time I was doing all that stuff at once. I don't know how in the world I did it, but here I am, a yoga teacher, still practicing, still, doing my meditations and still teaching classes, and I love it. So that's how I got here.
Aww, that's so cute, Kiki. All right, so my story, and it's funny because when you talk to almost all Black yoga teachers, they, it ends up being a story of necessity. Mm-hmm. We end up teaching out of necessity because Black women do the thing. But anyway, let's see. For me, so back in high school, nope, college. My grandfather was one of my favorite people. He really was. Aww. He was this like thinner, older man that was, still in the streets, hollering at young girls, that type of stuff. But like his little routine is he would get up in the morning.
What in the world?
Sort of, yeah. So he would get up in the morning and he would like go and cop a squat somewhere. Hardee's, McDonald's, those was one of the two. And he would just like hang out there all day. Because, his wife was deceased, his friends, whatever. So anyway, he would just hang out at one of those two spots. He'd get him his little senior coffee and his senior breakfast or any whatever senior meal that he could get at a discounted rate. And he would just hang out there all day reading the paper. And I'm just like, it took you all day to read the paper, granddaddy? Yeah, but yeah, whatever. It was what he did. Yeah, it was what he did. So anyway, in college, like he was so supportive. And so like every time I talked to him on the phone, he was proud of me, trying to send me money, which I accepted. So, about my junior year, my grandfather had a stroke. Oh, no. And at the time, I didn't know what a stroke was. I was like, what is stroke? What is stroke? And me, my science mind, or, what is that, right brain? My right brain mind, I was like, I got to figure out what this is. So Google wasn't a thing then. Let me date myself. But I did some research on what strokes was and heart disease and stuff like that. And I was still like, what? So anyway, when I finally got to come home to see him, like I went to his nursing home and they were like, oh, you're looking for Mr. Stewart? And I was like, yep. And I was looking for his room and they were like, no, I went to his room. He wasn't there. And I was like, where's my granddaddy? Where's my granddaddy? And they were like, oh, Mr. Stewart, he's down there playing bingo. And I was like, he's doing what? Playing bingo? Not my granddaddy. Like, cause bingo is for old people. So I was like, not my granddaddy. Mm-mm. But sure enough, I go in there and he's playing bingo and he's, into it. And I'm just like, what is happening here? Simultaneously in college, I'm rounding out, all my required credits. And I'm like, what am I going to do this last year? Because I have nothing left to take. and I needed something to take my mind off the hard classes that I had left in my degree, like biomechanics. Whose idea was that? Oh, by the way, I'm an exercise science major that had no clue what I was going to do with my life. I just picked it because I thought that's where the athletes would be. They weren't in the exercise science classes. Let me just go ahead and put that out there. So for anyone listening that is wondering what major the athletes go to at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, it is not the exercise science department.
PSA.
Okay.
PSA.
PSA. Mm-hmm. There's a few, but those are the real smart ones that are probably sitting the bench or playing tennis or something like that. The swim team, something like that. It's not the football players. It's not the basketball players. They are not in the exercise science department. There's my PSA. So anyway, I thought that that's where they would be. And, I didn't have my priorities together when I went to undergrad. God bless me for having gotten out. I'm just going to put it that way. So yeah, hopes and like prayers of your grandmother. That's how you got out of college.
How we all got out of college.
Yeah. Got out of college, like, and alive at that. Thank you, Grandma. So anyway, that, and they had a cadaver lab. I was so hyped about a cadaver lab, so I took exercise sports science. No other reason but that. But then it got interesting, because I like the human body. I love that you can manipulate it and do so much to it, and like no two bodies are the same. And people can make different shapes and do different things. And I've danced my whole entire life. So I was like, this is cool. So I'm an exercise science major. But again, I'm rounding out, most of my required classes are done. I'm like, what am I going to do? So I told you my grandfather had a stroke and he's playing bingo. And I'm like, what the hell, bingo? So I had been taken, because I heard this was an easy class, I took Recreation 101, right? Shortly thereafter, visiting my grandfather in the nursing home, we had a module and they were talking about like mental stimulation for like seniors and whatever. And they brought up bingo. And I was like, huh? Now, this was a class that I wasn't paying attention to. I literally studied whatever was required for the test. This was one of those straight A, don't repeat this, but this was one of those straight A classes. Yeah, you're good. Yeah, it's hard to fail Rec 101. Like, it's hard. So anyway, this was my GPA boot camp class. So, but the content was interesting. So I actually ended up like taking all recreation classes my senior year and becoming a rec minor. So I graduate with a BA or a bachelor's in exercise and sports science with a minor in recreation. What the hell am I fitting to do? Because at that time I didn't even really like exercising that much. But with my grandfather, so my grandfather passes that next year, or like 6 months later or whatnot. And I was devastated because when I did do my research on strokes and whatnot, I always saw my grandfather as like a healthy dude because he's thin, so on and so forth. I didn't realize that he had been on blood pressure medication for years. He had been in Vietnam, so he was exposed to some stuff, Agent Orange and all that other stuff. So I didn't really understand that until later. But what I did know was when I researched like stroke and hypertension and heart disease, whereas it's hereditary, even hereditary, you can do what you can to prevent, either delay the onset of some of that stuff or prevent how harsh it affects you. So I made it up in my mind that, that moment when I found this information out, I was like, I want to help my community be healthy. How do I do that? Because I am like exercising myself. What am I finna do? So, as an exercise science major, we did have to do, because when the degree started, it was physical education, exercise, and sports science. It was a lot. So we had to take like different PE classes or gym classes and whatever. So, I approached a yoga class once or twice, and I walked in there and it was a bunch of skinny, non-melanated women. And I was like, what? In some like tantric music. And I was like, yeah, this isn't for me. So I walked out twice. So again, I had no idea what I was going to do. But I moved to the DC area and I started managing fitness centers. Long story short, started managing fitness centers. And so as managing fitness centers, I'm now responsible for making sure that there's aerobic classes. So again, you know, you have to visit the aerobic classes. So once again, I tried yoga. I was like, still not for me, because I was on kind of the high speed, high intensity stuff. I like my Zumbas and my, I don't like step aerobics because I'm uncoordinated. I can dance.
How
but
are
you
you
put something
uncoordinated?
I don't know. Put me in like 2-3 inch heels. I can spin around, but you can put a step in front of me and I cannot do it. Oh my gosh.
That's funny. I'm uncoordinated.
I don't know what it is.
I thought that you had all the rhythm for me and you together because I ain't got it.
No, just me. Just me. I can't share. Just me. So I tried yoga again and I was like, nah, sis, this ain't for me. Sorry, I just brushed it off. Fast forward down the road, I'm in grad school at Howard University. And we had to raise funds or whatnot. And one of our fundraisers was we had a yoga class. And we invited Brandon Copeland. Brandon Copeland, he was fairly new to yoga, or he wasn't Brandon Copeland yet. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he was my instructor. And I was like, wait, say what? You mean that
black man? That
little black man with, because Brandon had dreads at the time. You mean the little black dude with locks? Like he's gonna be our yoga instructor? Say what? Not only did he give a class that I was now more in tune to, like the music was dope. I was like, this is yoga? Shut up. So now my eyes are open and I was like, I can do this right here.
Right.
So fast forward, grad school doesn't work out for me. It becomes the biggest heartbreak of my life. So I came to North Carolina with my tail between my legs and I'm like, what do I do? What do I do with my life? What do I do? What do I do? So again, I'm a dancer. I ran to dance and I joined a dance team. And one of my teammates was Hayat. And Hayat, she was breaking up with her business partner. So, or I'm sorry, let me not say that. Her and her business partner had just split. I don't know the story. So her and her business partner had just split. So she's trying to now run the business by herself. And I can see she's struggling. I got that slight empath going on, just slight. So I can see she's struggling. I don't know what to do with myself. So I was just like, you know what? Let me help you, sis. And I was like, besides, you're missing practices and whatnot. I have the gift of administration. Thank you, God. I got the gift of administration. Let me help you out. Let me get your front desk together, your files, I can't do your taxes, but let me get all that shit for you together. So then you have a little bit of peace. And she was like, but I can't pay you. And I was like, don't you worry about it. Let me try this yoga stuff. So I tried yoga. And a couple months later, because I'm an Aries and I jump headfirst into all the things. But a couple months later, I was loving it. Because I had one amazing teacher and her name is Maria. I had one amazing teacher and I don't know what she did, but it was yin yoga. Lord. The first time I went to her class, I was like, whose idea was this? And why am I holding these poses for so long?
A very special type of yoga for you to go into, especially knowing that you like more high intensity things.
Yeah. But I was just, you know, I trusted Maria and she was like, yeah, she could come to my class. I trusted Maria. So yeah, the first time I was like, this is friend, I don't know about this. But I went back for whatever reason. And it was that next time I was just like, I love this. And it was so weird because again, I am high speed. And so for me to be able to calm down in yin, I was like, what is happening here? But yeah, it was a moment that I could be meditative. I could think. I could not think. I could breathe. I could, you know, I just had a moment of peace. I loved it. And then I went on to try hot yoga because we were a hot yoga studio. And that was touch and go. You know, some instructors you like more than others. But yeah, so I got into it. And then lo and behold, one day Hayat was like, we're having a yoga teacher training. And I was like, okay, why not?
Right.
Because, this time I hadn't really explored any other studios, but, you know, my little excursions on Instagram, I didn't see very many Black yoga instructors. And definitely at this studio, there were no Black yoga instructors. So I was like, well, hell, there's the need for Black yoga instructors. And then, I got to reflecting on my experience with Brandon. It wasn't until I took yoga with a Black instructor that I was just like, all right, I'm gonna try it.
Right.
So 9 months later, before I was good and out of school, I had already been offered the job to teach yin because Maria was leaving. So yin was actually my first class on the schedule. And I still love yin, still love it. But yeah, that's my yoga teacher story. So fast forward, I have been certified in yin, of course, certified in yoga, working on my meditation certification, the training that shall remain nameless, that one. So, and I practice a couple different styles. Still my favorite will always be yin, probably because it was my first. And again, I like the opportunity to calm down.
Right.
So yeah, that's me. That's my story.
That's so funny that your favorite is yin. I would never have guessed that.
Yep.
I would probably put you on the Ashtanga bar.
Now, don't get me wrong. I like Ashtanga, but Ashtanga is not for women with thighs.
Yeah,
it's not.
I mean,
it's not. Because some of them poses just like, you want me to put what where at the same time simultaneously? How do I even? I don't know how. Listen, I'm short, and my arms are short, so I don't know how my arms are supposed to wrap around all this thigh loving that I got going. Yeah, so I do enjoy Ashtanga.
That's why I've never thought to even try Ashtanga. I was like, all this stuff that y'all doing, like all these skinny people are doing it, and I'm just like, my arms are short. I'm gonna have to use like 5 blocks to get myself through like these jump throughs and stuff because I can't do it.
Yeah. Ashtanga's for skinny people. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Go on record. Ashtanga's for skinny people.
I'm glad somebody said it because people look at me like, oh no, you can do it, and I'm just like, girl, what?
No, you can't. Because if you got Ashtanga is not for people with thighs. There you go. I said it.
I said
it. Unless you have the incredibly flexible spine. And so then I amend my statement to saying Ashtanga is for people under 30 with all the pliability and flexibility in their spine still. Yes.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah. And that's all a lie. So, I encourage everyone to find the yoga practice that is theirs. I do like Ashtanga. Ashtanga is what I tend to do, like if I don't feel like going to the gym, because Ashtanga is, like I feel worked out after Ashtanga. But no, that's not my favorite. My favorite is yin.
That's awesome. Mine is restorative, of course. Like I love a good restorative class.
Whew. Restorative?
Restorative is not for everybody. Like if you don't like to sit there and just relax, if you have trouble relaxing, it is going to be the worst thing ever. So don't let that be your first class. It's easy, but it's not.
I love taking restorative. I can never teach it because I would fall asleep on my students. I'd be a horrible restorative teacher. I would.
So what I do, especially in Shavasana, when everybody's laying out, like I sit there with my eyes open. I do not close my eyes because otherwise I will be asleep. Especially now in the age of COVID and just doing virtual classes. No, if I close my eyes, I will probably wake up and everybody will be looking at me like, "Is class over? Are we done? Are we done? Yeah, I can't."
Yeah. I enjoy taking a good restorative class. I really do. Like when you be like, I'm having a restorative class, I hop on there. I am excited. Love restorative to relax, as a form of self-care.
Right.
But yeah, I couldn't teach it. My other favorite, well, it's not my favorite, but along that restorative end, whoo, child, give me some good old I can't think of the name now. Yoga Nidra.
Yes.
Whew.
Oh my God. I love
Talk about adult nap time. That right there, they should bottle it.
They like have all of this science behind how it's such a meditative practice. Girl, I'm asleep. In every Yoga Nidra class, I am within maybe 10 minutes, I am probably going to be gone the rest of the class.
I've never stayed awake in a Yoga Nidra class, and I'm okay with that.
I am too.
I'm okay. Now, I'll wake up in it. Like, I always tend to wake up in the last part,
Yeah.
right before I wake up, like maybe a couple minutes before she's like, and we're gonna go into Shavasana. I'm like, oh, okay. Because I'm the power nap queen. I just need about a good 20. Give me like a good 20 and I'm good to go. So yeah, so yoga nidra, I'm gonna go to sleep.
I love yoga nidra. It is the best thing other than
Mm-hmm.
restorative.
Yeah,
I don't know if I
I
could teach
agree.
that class. I feel like I would be talking and I would just fall out of sleep after 10 minutes of talking.
I could teach yoga nidra, maybe. Because I'd be wanting a sip of water, and yoga nidra is all about your voice and controlling it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my different inflections, and my dumb ass will start laughing for something, nothing. Somebody will be snoring, and I'm giggling. So you're right.
Oh my
I
God.
probably shouldn't teach yoga nidra either. Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to talk about the stuff that happens in Shavasana because people snore all the time. People let go of wind in Shavasana.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happens in Shavasana, and I just sit at the front of the class, like, trying not to giggle out loud, trying not to open my mouth, and I'm just like...
And that's for the people paying attention. How about the people who, are high-strung and can't relax? So they are, you see them checking their phone on their watches. You see them, counting stars or whatever you have on the ceiling.
moving
It's
their
mad
feet,
funny.
they're moving their legs, they're just kind of, like, fidgeting and all that stuff. Yeah, you see a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
But anyway,
one
sounds
thing I want
like...
to clarify on real quick.
Okay.
I know you were talking about how we always come to yoga out of necessity. One thing I didn't mention in my whole yoga story was in grad school, because I told you I was working full-time and going to school full-time. That was a lot. Plus, I added on my plate doing yoga teacher training. I literally had 2 periods of time in grad school where I had complete breakdowns. Like, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't know how to move forward. Do I need to drop out of grad school? Because I was just stressed out. So I think this is where the importance of having a good support system comes in, because I literally called my mom and was like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is crazy. I'm on the floor crying and I don't know where to go. So, like, this podcast kind of came from that as well, because I just kind of want to prevent people from getting to that point of burnout and breakdown.
Yeah.
Because it's real.
Yeah.
This is not just something you see on TV. It's not something that you see other people going through. People go through it every day. You can burn yourself out just putting too much on your plate, taking on too much responsibility, taking on too much emotional baggage. All of that stuff is real. This is why I wanted to talk about self-care on this podcast.
Yeah. And that's real even for yoga instructors. One common misconception is that yoga instructors are all zen and we're all calm and we don't get overly excited about stuff. And that's some fucking bullshit. Let me just go ahead and put that out there. Yeah, I'm very passionate about certain stuff. Get me talking about social justice, and that's a whole different ballgame. You see a whole different side of this yogi. But it's easy to get burnt out, even as a yoga teacher, even teaching, because especially when you come from, especially someone like myself, who I tend to function out of, or I came into yoga out of a place of necessity, and I tend to end up teaching out of a place of necessity. I told someone no for the first time the other day. Yep.
Ooh, how did that
Someone hit me up. Initially I was like, wait, but Nakia, you need the extra income. And I was like, no, I don't. I don't want to put another thing on my plate right now, especially something that I don't believe in. And right now I can't see myself working for another yoga studio where I am right now, because I don't want to call nobody out and somebody be hearing me. I couldn't commit to that studio at this time, just not right now. Maybe later, but no. So I had to say no. And it's funny because I'm always like, well, let me at least try it, because, let me put my name out there. You never know what this could lead to. I'm that person. You never know what this could lead to. this could lead to my knight in shining armor, or this could get me closer to Michelle Obama. Who knows? Who knows? But yeah. And so I literally, I was just like, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it right now.
We have
And
to take care of ourselds, because a lot of
mm-hmm.
people don't know how much energy you put into a yoga class. You think you're coming and you're just doing these shapes and stuff, but as a yoga teacher, I feel like I'm putting this energy out to everyone, and that also is taking it out of you.
Yep.
So you have to replenish your own energy, and you have to also protect it. So just like you said, you have to say no sometimes.
Yeah, that goes for all teachers, especially you people who like to abuse the teachers that teach a little bit, teach your little kids. Yeah, like teachers give of themselves, so be kind to them. Thank you very much.
They give up so much, especially teachers who have to deal with kids, your kids.
Yes,
that
your kids.
People don't want to take care of. Yeah.
So sis, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you I love you and take care.
Thank you, sis. You take care.
Bye.
Bye. We'll see y'all next week.